1 o'clock hour here on Cody and Gold. Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. Nate Taylor from ESPN joining us in studio, our Chiefs insider. It's been a bit, obviously, since we had you in studio. You have a good holiday and everything?
Sure.
Sure.
I mean, the Chiefs couldn't ruin your Christmas. That season was long over before that game ever happened.
I know, but it was so no, my holiday season was fantastic, and it was nice to have all of Holly's family at the house for Christmas. It was just a very unusual feeling to be like, well, I guess I got to get out of these pajamas and go to work. Which is not the worst thing. I totally understand that. But
I like a routine.
But yeah, you're just like, it would be nice if like this game mattered. And that was the best that we saw Chris Oladokun play. So they made it close. It was interesting, I think, more on the defensive side, but yeah, it was not the same as last year when they were in Pittsburgh and they were, battling for the 1 seed and trying to do miraculous things with Joe Thuney as their left tackle. It just did not feel the same.
Did not pass the vibes check at the end of the year. But I don't know. We mentioned, I think, and Andy is because of where he is in his career, where Mahomes is in his career and all this. I mean, it's a crossroads offseason. Where it's, do you stick with the left side path, which is we've been the most successful franchise in the NFL. We went to 7 straight AFC title games. Everything was working. We were humming along. Or this season sucks so bad, we got to take the right path, which is we got to change some things on offense. We got to invest in places we haven't invested. And we got to make some real franchise-changing decisions, whether that be that. So, I feel like they're there. I feel like they got to choose which side of the road they want to go down. I always feel like this way in just life. Going down the middle sucks.
Right.
That way, I just feel like not committing to one side never works.
And I'm so happy you said that because we're kind of seeing that play out in Indianapolis. Sorry, Drew. I know he roots for the Bengals, but
yeah, he's an Indy guy.
But we're seeing that with the Colts right now, where it's like they could have tore it down yesterday. Instead, Carly decides to keep both the general manager and head coach intact for what essentially puts them in a bind by making them, one and done sort of candidates for 2026. The Chiefs, and I know Clark Hunt has yet to speak. I know Brett Veach has yet to say anything publicly about the end of the season. We got Andy Reid yesterday.
Veach will talk at some point, right? He usually does an end of the year one, doesn't he? Doesn't he?
I mean,
am I imagining that now?
It's looking like it's not gonna happen, boys.
Ah, man, I like the GM stuff.
The face Mr. Gold just made.
I mean, look, this is.
Hey, I'm just telling you what the team has told me. Like, I don't.
Does Brett Veach talk the least amount of any general manager in the entire NFL? He talks like twice a year.
This you could say that for this season. Now,
the combine, the draft, once during camp, in the list.
There you go. Yeah. Now, in the past when they've won the AFC Championship, he is available to reporters. He's available during Super Bowl week, which has been the case 5 of the last 6 years. We have been told that we will probably talk to him at the combine.
All right, I'm gonna save it.
So that's their prerogative. If that, I think it's understandable for everything you just said, Cody, in terms of framing this, for this to be a seismic offseason. I do understand why fans would like to hear from the general manager. But the Chiefs, the Chiefs have chosen to do that for what'll come in 5-6 weeks from now. I know that a lot of the players were left yesterday and for much of the past 3 weeks, right? Wrestling with the idea that not a lot of guys are likely to come back, and so they've put out messages on social media, they've talked amongst themselves, they've shared proper goodbyes. So it I think from a player standpoint, it does seem like a pretty, again, seismic, turbulent offseason in terms of change.
It could be 30% of their roster turnover.
It might be more than that. Yeah. It might be more than that. And again, a number of these factors are because of we don't know what the salary cap will be next year. We obviously know it'll increase, but how much? What happens with Patrick's contract? especially now that he is, rehabbing off a major knee injury. I was always of the belief that this was going to be the year that they really could have tore up his contract and restructured it all over again.
We had Joe Corey on. He said next year actually
it's now feasible.
Better, like it makes more financial sense for the team, I guess, that way. But
the quarterback was going to. I think the quarterback was looking around and saying, "We need to."
It's about time.
Yeah. And so again, my understanding was, from the player standpoint, given the amount of success he's had, seeing that he had already helped the quarterback market reset itself once again, that would have been this would have been the offseason to really exploit a new contract to give yourself even more flexibility in terms of this offseason, given the fact that we all know Jawan Taylor is likely to not come back. Mm-hmm. You're going to likely not have Mike Dana come back. You're going to have all these cost-cutting moves in terms of savings, and now you can have the quarterback sign a brand new, potentially I should say, could sign a new contract that could give you even more cap space. So now that makes it, I think, tricky because of the injury standpoint. I love Corey, and so if it happens next year, hey, that's totally fine. It makes sense. Again, the cap, we assume, will continue to rise over time, but the big question is, and I know Andy swatted it away like Dikembe Mutombo yesterday, was what's going to happen with the coaching staff, and that will be, I think, the pivotal point in this offseason. How much change occurs there will really, I think, inform a lot of fans about how the team not only views itself in terms of its own scheme evaluation and how players were either developed or lacked thereof, but how much does the coaching staff change to your point, Cody, make it feel like, okay, the organization understands how big of an offseason this is.
Can I ask you about like OC, which looks like it's going to change?
It will change.
They're just
unless something
dramatic happens.
Yes. My understanding is, and I mean, this was, there's a reason, kids, why the moment the Tennessee job was going to become open, once they fired Callahan, that Matt Nagy became an obvious choice. Now, what's interesting is you're already starting to hear somewhat rumblings about, could Nagy convince Steve Spagnuolo to join him if things go a certain way in Nashville. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that was an interesting sort of speculation point yesterday, given that Tennessee wants to interview both candidates. I don't. Here's the thing. I have so much knowledge, yet I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I don't believe Matt Nagy's going to be back. We all know he doesn't have a contract. He's in essence, excuse me, he's
a free agent.
In essence, a free agent. Now Spagnuolo is under contract, so there's a little bit of a that gives you a little bit of context to things. But something would have to go very wild for Matt Nagy to come back, and I think Andy Reid has already acknowledged that he would like Nagy to be given a second opportunity as a head coach, which, again, is create and choose your own adventure when it comes to the offensive coordinator, given that this will be the next chapter of your quarterback's career.
Alex is going to ask you about candidates here in a minute, obviously. People are going to mention Cliff and Kafka and all the names that are out there. We were having a debate over the offensive coordinator. I'm curious how you view it. What are the three most important job functions of an offensive coordinator under Andy Reid? I think people always assume play calling.
Yep.
In some systems, that might be. I think it's development of players, number one, by a mile. And that's the issue I still have with Nagy is under him, wide receiver, quarterback, and running backs have not gotten better. His job is to oversee the development of players, and players aren't getting better.
Right. And so that would be like number two on my list. Number one is you have to be the right companion for Andy. Andy's going to scheme guys open. That's just a fact, right? So as offensive coordinator, my belief is, how do we get these things to mirror? How do we get these things to match, to synchronize once again in the running game, in the specialty plays, in the red zone, short yardage? The creativity has been lacking, I think, especially in the red zone. And that was something that, if Chiefs fans remember, they were excellent in like that 2020, 2021, 2022 era of them just being excellent in the red zone. So Andy's always going to be pass first. We understand that. It's a passing league. He's got the best quarterback we've ever seen play the position. But you still have to have a number of diverse variety of ways to run the ball well, to have things, again, match up so that it's not as easy for the defense to decipher certain things in terms of not being as predictable. And so that's where you work with Andy in terms of the game plan on a week-to-week basis, and obviously the scheme that you're developing from essentially after the combine all the way up until, week one.
So you're saying job one is refine the scheme.
You just have to be the right partner, right? I mean, like, I think of wow, this is a wild comparison. I understand what I'm about to say. They just went into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, ladies and gentlemen. But think about Outkast, right? Outkast does not work if it's just one individual person. Now, we know Andre 3000 is a creative genius, right? A lyricist that is hard to
I think Matt Nagy's ever been called Big Boy before.
But that's essentially what you have to be. Andy Reid is Andre 3000. He can do anything. He could just 1 year just start playing the flute and make it viable, I guess. But you still have to have the traditional big boy, big sound, traditional hip hop, so that yes, all the other creative stuff can blossom around that. You need both of them, and you need a yin and a yang, honestly. And I know that's why people still have an affinity for Eric Bieniemy, because the Chiefs' running game was more diverse. It was more understandable. It was easier for the running back. He actually, to your point, developed running backs over the course of his time. He made Damian Williams a star within a matter of weeks once Kareem Hunt was removed from the team in 2018. So I understand that people want Eric Bieniemy for that particular principle. And then I would say third is you have to have someone who can look Patrick in the eye and say, I am going to make you better. And not just say it, but demand it. And hey man, you can't do this like you did it back in whatever year. You're coming off an ACL injury. I need to see more refinement in the footwork. And now I thought his accuracy actually improved over the case of this past year, but how do we get the deep ball to be better? How do we understand, how can we communicate with our receivers to really get you guys to be mind melding out there on the field? Because unfortunately this year, a lot of it still defaulted to copy and paste, and the pace was, where's 87? Yeah.
We're talking to Nate Taylor, our Chiefs insider from ESPN. Okay, so everything you described there, who do you actually think is the best fit potentially? We know today, Cliff Kingsbury no longer with the Commanders. We were talking about him earlier. I'm not saying it's this home run hire. I'm intrigued by Cliff in terms of the relationship he has with Mahomes.
Yes.
And certainly, this was a guy just a year ago everybody was praising for what he did with Jaden Daniels. Now, I was texting with somebody in D.C. We were reading the text on the air that was mentioning that the reason why he's leaving D.C. is him and Dan Quinn had a disconnect of how they want to move forward. Dan Quinn wants to go old school, more of a run game under center. Now, we talked a lot about going under center in Kansas City a lot, and Cliff runs an air raid.
That's right, baby.
Is it a bad fit for you, or do you think it could work? Because Cliff also might want to call plays. That's the other problem.
That's the other thing, yeah. And again, maybe he has a bit of a different style. And I think we do know he has a different style than Matt Nagy. Now, I'm not saying one's better than the other, but again, just inserting him into the offense would make the offense slightly different, right? Whether it's Andy letting him, design certain things for certain situations, therefore those are quote unquote his plays, depending on whoever the play caller technically is. Obviously, Andy's always going to say, and still has 51% of the vote when it comes to calling the plays. The reason why Dan Quinn wants to get under center is, have you seen our quarterback? He's a twig. And unless he's going to have the ability, I would actually tell, now I'm on a totally different tangent. I would actually tell Jaden Daniels, watch Lamar Jackson tape. I'm not saying you're Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson never takes big hits, despite him still running around. Now, he got sacked a lot more this season, and that led to his own injuries. But, that's the reason why Dan Quinn wants to get under center more, is can I keep my quarterback
Sounds like
viable?
A dinosaur philosophy, though. Dan Quinn, by the way, this time next year, Dan Quinn will not be the head coach. Dan Quinn will be fired this time next year.
If the quarterback gets hurt. Yeah. So, look, they're going to try, and I understand that. And I understand if you're Cliff Kingsbury, you're like, well, that's not our quarterback. But now I give you a better quarterback who you obviously developed in college. And unlike a lot of coaches at the time, kind of saw the future and gravitated towards it in terms of having a quarterback of this dynamic ability, instead of being like, well, his footwork's off, his arm, his decision making is a little bit tricky. Can this air raid really work in the modern, college game at the time, let alone the NFL? So
there were no air raid success quarterbacks until
Patrick Mahomes really came.
But it sounds like, as far as how it would relate to Kansas City, the only question I would have, and would Andy be willing to go that direction? Because Cliff goes up tempo more than anybody else. And that puts stress on your defense. That's not how they typically have wanted to play. Now I'm open. I actually want them to change how they're playing. But is Andy Reid, in your mind, willing to differ that much?
I think you're asking the wrong person, my friend. I think you're asking the wrong person. Someone has to throw the football, kids. And what does he want?
I think he has familiarity with Cliff.
Look. Yeah. He loves Cliff.
Well, I think Mahomes should have more. I think Mahomes should have more.
Daniels said he loved Cliff. He was mad that he got canned.
I think Mahomes should have more say now than he ever has in his career.
You could argue. You can make an argument for that. So if Patrick's on board, it would be really hard for Andy to be like, well, hey, this is the guy I talked to several times about Patrick before we even had the chance to go up and make the trade to select him. So that is, in its sense, its own reunion, even though they've never, quote unquote, worked together. They are of the same mind. So I don't think it's a bad thing if it's Cliff Kingsbury. That would be obviously a very Patrick Mahomes centric selection.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen with Mike Kafka. I think that's the mystery in this that I cannot grasp. And I'm going to try to maybe figure it out by the end of the week, because I really haven't heard Kafka's name much when it comes to the Chiefs. I don't know why that is, because he was considered.
They loved him. They did not want him to leave.
He was considered the next guy after Bieniemy was going to, we all assume, get a head coaching job. That never happened, kids. He obviously went to New York to have the ability to call plays under Brian Dable, and then obviously he was the interim Giants coach.
Feels like we're headed towards a Matt Nagy, head coach of the Titans, offensive coordinator and play caller Mike Kafka in Tennessee with Matt Nagy, Dave Merritt, DC Titans.
Or
Spags? Why would Spags leave?
True, but I'm just saying.
Yeah,
can we talk to you about it?
Yeah.
Can we interest you in that? So if that's the case, and I think you might be onto something, Mr. Gold, that's definitely a plausible scenario.
He didn't like when you pluck guys from him.
I'm just saying it just leaves one guy available, one guy who's ready to come back home. If the opportunity presented itself.
Nate, I said I want the theme of this offseason to be.
We'll have to pull up some old tweets and texts if he comes back. Everybody all of a sudden acting like Eric Bieniemy is the savior. The same people that were texting the show saying he can't get a head coaching job because he doesn't do anything on the offense. I'm just saying.
I want the theme of this season to never hear the sentence, "We're bringing back blank." I don't want to hear it. Is there someone outside of the circle that we haven't named? People mentioned Shieldhouse or some others. Are you hearing any other rumblings of any other potential offensive coordinator guys that aren't Kafka, Nagy, Bieniemy? That's the same four, Cliff. The same four we've heard up to this point.
Cliff's the monkey wrench in this, because I didn't believe Cliff was going to be let go. And again, I don't know how much it really serves Washington to let him pursue other possibilities, but okay, if Cliff's available, then that's new. That was not necessarily expected.
Who else? Is there one? It seemed like you got someone. Can you just give me one name of a possibility?
Hey, Eric.
I'll take anybody off of Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan's
I'm gonna
staff.
need you to give me everything from the Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson.
That's my whole thing. Everybody's
everything.
Look, and this is the same thing. The way people talk about Matt Nagy, where it's like he gets too much blame,
of course,
as well. Eric Bieniemy, I think in Chicago, is doing a very nice job with the run game. Way too much credit, though, for that's why Swift and Monungai in the run scheme. Did people not watch Detroit? Ben Johnson did that with David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs. And his run game, he's doing the same thing with Swift and Monungai. Look, I'm not saying Eric Bieniemy hasn't had an impact on the run game in Chicago, but he's not the genius behind the offense in Chicago. That is Ben Johnson.
Correct, but I do think from a technical standpoint, in terms of teaching and developing running backs over the course of the season,
he's great at that,
and managing the offensive line in the run game, you could say Eric Bieniemy does have a bit of sway and a bit of influence on that, considering he's had success over the course of his coaching career in the NFL doing that.
I mean, he can come be the running back coach. He wants to leave Chicago. Sure.
I
know it's not happening. I'm joking. I know that's not happening. My point is, like, what you're describing sounds like a really good running back coach.
So, look, guys.
If you can't tell, I'm just not really a big fan of bringing back Eric Bieniemy.
I just don't want to bring back anybody.
Look, man.
Starts.
Look.
New blood.
There's a reason why a certain tight end mentioned Eric Bieniemy on his podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, guys. I mean, come on.
I thought here's a question I guess I had. I thought the implication is they had a little bit of a falling out. Like Andy sometimes, because the way Andy runs, like him and Peterson had a falling out. Oh, I don't think it was that bad, but like sometimes Andy runs sideways with some guys and they have the mutual parting of ways. Like he's getting ready to do with Nagy. He had the mutual parting of ways with Bieniemy. I think is that water under the bridge now?
Potentially, yes. I think that's very possible because I think for Andy, if I had to interpret how that whole situation went, like, I mean, people forget this. I mean, Andy was saying that you're messing up the process, right? I've coached this guy up to be a head coach, and yet no one will give him an opportunity.
Yeah.
And so I remember whatever year it was.
You think it was more like set this bird free?
What else can I, like, we have, and again, for him, even at the time, like, how can I even advance or develop my own coaching staff, my own scheme? Like, how can we, like, continue to grow if no one wants to take this guy? And also, like, it's going to stunt his own growth and his own development as a coach, and I completely understand that too. He went to owners, at the owners meeting, I can't remember what year it was. Maybe it was 2021, 2022, I can't remember. And basically, you know, I know I can't curse, and I know Andy Reid doesn't curse, but it was essentially him going into a room full of, let's just say it, older white gentlemen and mother bleeping all of them about them not being willing to give Eric Bieniemy an opportunity, given how poorly the Rooney Rule has been interpreted, yet alone implied, and governed in the NFL. So he goes off to Washington, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't go well. Then he goes to UCLA, doesn't go well. Now he's back in Chicago.
It's going great.
It's going great by all intents and purposes. And he's an overqualified, position coach. You could argue, but hey, that's how you can have a advantage from a coaching standpoint if you're Ben Johnson doing this for the first time. But I don't think it was necessarily like, a schism between the two.
You don't
men.
think it was like the Peterson thing? Where they
I don't. Now, again, I wasn't around for the Peterson era. I want to make that clear, so I don't know.
I was around for that, and I would describe that as a falling out.
Okay, so think about it from this standpoint in terms of leadership, understanding Patrick, discipline. And I think this is something that's really, really interesting. This was a team that lacked focus, discipline, and concentration. We ain't gonna have that problems with Eric Bieniemy. That was never, I shouldn't say that was never, but that was not a main criticism of his time in Kansas City. The criticism was, can they, find a way to be a little bit more, and this was back to when, the too high stuff happened. Did it take them longer than necessary to sort of make the adjustment? Yeah. They eventually made the adjustments in 2022. And I think the greatest year for all of these three coaches, I should say, the greatest year in all of these coaches, Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, and Eric Bieniemy, their greatest years, I believe, will be 2022. What they did together in 2022 gave them such a massive coaching advantage over just about every other team because they all had career years that year together. And they had a quarterback who went on to be an MVP, and even despite a, significantly high ankle sprain, still went on to win the Super Bowl.